What has happened to AlphaTauri? P6 in the World Championship at the end of the last regulation cycle in 2021, with what was at times the fourth fastest car on average. After the first three races of this season, they currently sit joint bottom of the championship with what looks to be the slowest car on the grid. The recent slump has marked quite a turnaround in form for AlphaTauri. They've gone from having a car that was quite easily capable of getting through to Q3 to having a car that is now struggling to get out of Q1, let alone score points. But it's not just down to a lack of performance. There are a number of key factors behind AlphaTauri's recent drop-off. But before we get on to those factors, let's just focus on the performance aspects for now. So, as I mentioned, AlphaTauri finished P6 in the World Championship in 2021, which was the last season of the previous regulations. And during that year, AlphaTauri really were impressive. They built a solid package, and the results spoke for themselves. They scored a podium finish at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. They only finished 13 points off Alpine, who finished just ahead of them in the World Championship, and their car proved really handy over one lap. In fact, during qualifying that year, Pierre Gasly qualified the car in the top 6 at 16 of the 22 races of that season. And at the time, it only felt like that AlphaTauri was just going to build on from their impressive 2021 season and carry that form into the first year of the new regulations in 2022. But in fact, it had the complete opposite effect as they went backwards. They slipped from P6 to P9 in the World Championship standings, finishing only ahead of Williams. And things haven't got much better at the start of this season, as they've only scored 1 point from the opening 3 races. You have to say that with Williams making big gains from last year, where they were clearly the slowest team on the grid, and McLaren beginning to show some form after their double points finish in Australia, but AlphaTauri looked to be the team playing catch-up. And it doesn't help with the fact that they've got an underperforming car, but also you've got to say that they don't have one of the strongest lineups on the grid in Yuki Tsunoda and Nick de Vries. Both of those drivers are under a lot of pressure this year to try and prove to the Red Bull bosses that they are worthy of a seat for next year. So far, it is pretty clear that Yuki does have the upper hand in the head-to-head battle. He's both outraced and outqualified Nick at all 3 rounds. And this teammate duel does have extra significance, as it's likely that whoever comes out second best will face the chop, with several Red Bull juniors waiting in the wings for a potential F1 promotion. You could argue the case as to AlphaTauri's dramatic drop-off since 2021 is down to the fact that they use a lot less parts from Red Bull, despite the fact that they are entitled to do so. AlphaTauri has in fact admitted that this year's car, the AT04, is pretty much its own design. I think that the fact that AlphaTauri has gone in this direction is a clear sign of its intention to forge its own path, and the team has already honestly gone through a major shift in identity since being rebranded as AlphaTauri from Toro Rosso in 2020. That's when it began to slowly transition out of being just known as Red Bull's junior team and more being akin to a sister team. But that still isn't enough for the team. They want to be known by their own accord. They don't want to be known as Red Bull's sister team who runs the next crop of Red Bull drivers. You could argue that this has been significant in AlphaTauri's drop-off in performance over the last couple of seasons. The fact that they have access to Red Bull's parts and are free to use them on their car. It is baffling, especially when you consider that, for example, Haas takes full advantage of its technical partnership with Ferrari. They will use as much of Ferrari's intellectual property as they are allowed to do so under the current regulations. Even worse for AlphaTauri is the fact that their poor results to start this season have exposed frailties behind the scenes. Incredibly, at the second race of the season, Franz Tost, the team boss, criticised the team, saying that he didn't trust his engineers anymore, and this came after the team told him that they expected the car's performance to improve. Franz Tost has never been one to mince his words. He has always been an outspoken critic, but even by his standards, this was pretty remarkable, the fact that he was openly criticising the team in front of the media. But if Franz has indeed lost trust with his engineers, there could be a solution to his problems, which could be rehiring James Key, who recently left McLaren after being sacked as its technical director. Key previously worked for the team before he left to join McLaren in 2019, and during his time at AlphaTauri/Toro Rosso, he developed quite a reputation as one of the best car designers on the grid. I think that even despite his difficult period at McLaren, I think that AlphaTauri know just how good James is, and I think they will not think twice about rehiring him if they choose to do so. But AlphaTauri's problems don't just lie on track, they also lie off it, as in recent months there has been a lot of speculation surrounding its future and a potential sale of the team. There was a lot of talk that Red Bull was considering a number of options concerning AlphaTauri's future, and this included not just selling the team but also considering moving them from their Faenza base in Italy to a new factory in the UK to cut costs. But all these rumours have been firmly shut down by Red Bull Motorsport boss Helmut Marko. So it does seem that, at least in the short term, AlphaTauri's future is secure. But going forward, who knows? So I think that it's pretty clear that there has been a combination of factors that has led to AlphaTauri's recent decline. And the more worrying thing is there doesn't look to be a quick fix to solve its current issues. And I think that it's going to face quite an uphill battle to not finish bottom of the Constructors' Championship for the first time since 2009. So what do you think is the main reason for AlphaTauri's recent decline over the last couple of years? And where do you see them finishing in the Constructors' Championship by the end of this season? Be sure to let me know in the comments. Also, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe on this video. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.